Welcome to the hearing of the Assessment Equalization Board. Today's next hearing deals with the South Hawkins resurfacing project as per resolution number 71-2020. As required by chapter 727 of the Ohio Revised Code, I, Sarah Biviano, as Deputy Clerk of the Legislative Authority, have notified by certified mail the person so objecting of the time and place for the hearing by the board. As Deputy Clerk of Council, I hereby call this meeting to order. The Assessment Equalization Board consists of 3 disinterested freeholders of the municipal corporation as required by Chapter 727.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Today's board members are Jim Purge, Jimmy Coleman, and Mike Harehold. The next order will be the explanation of procedure for the Law Department, represented today by Sean Bowman, Assistant Law Director. This hearing is being live streamed. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. Akron City Council passed Resolution 71-2020 declaring it necessary to improve South Hawkins Street in the city of Akron by resurfacing. Having received objections to the estimated special assessments, City Council appointed this Assessment Equalization Board. The jurisdiction of this board is limited to hearing objections as to whether the property has been benefited by the improvements and whether the amount of the assessment is a proper apportionment of those benefits. The board cannot consider whether the project is necessary or revise the nature and scope of the project or the materials used. Those determinations have been made by City Council and are binding on the board. My next step in the procedure is to swear in all of the participants for this hearing. I'm going to start with the Assessment Equalization Board members. Members, do you swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the duties of an Assessment Equalization Board? Please signify by saying I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, I think I heard 3. And then for the city, as we did with the previous hearing, I will swear you in and then ask you individually to say I do. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give today will be entirely the truth? Please signify by saying I do. Teresa?
I do.
Christine?
I do.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Hicks, I'm going to swear you in now. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give today will be entirely the truth? Please signify by saying I do.
I do.
Thank you. Now I'm going to bring it to the city officials that are participating to explain for Ms. Hicks and for the board their background, their role in this procedure. Teresa, if you'd like to start.
Yes, good morning. Teresa Herbert, City Assessor. My department is responsible for the notification and collection of special assessments for street improvements. That includes the annual certification to the Summit County Fiscal Office. This particular project is a 5-year assessment. It would be payable in 10 installments if certified to the property taxes. The earliest this assessment would appear on the taxes would be for the 2021 taxes, payable in 2022.
Christine?
Good morning. My name is Christine Johnson. I am a project manager at the Engineering Bureau. I am the engineer of record for the Hawkins Street resurfacing project. I also help determine the frontages and the owners who are abutting the project limits.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hicks, now I am going to give you a chance to state your objection and answer any questions that the board members may have, ask any questions of the city officials involved with respect to your objection.
Okay, my objection really just includes the, has to do with us having to pay for this. The whole timing of it, I feel like our taxes have been raised enough. Our city looks like it is unloved because our streets are a wreck, our expressways are a wreck. I live on Hawkins, as you know. Hawkins repeatedly has chuck holes all throughout the year. Rather than repairing our street, they just put stuff in the holes, especially at the corner of Copley and Hawkins. Right now, I'm turning the corner and again dodging 3 more holes that we've landed in several times in the last family. So I just feel like it's very unfair. I also feel like the timing of this request is very insensitive with everything that's going on in our world. The panic, the fear of everything that's happening. It's another thing. Not that we can't pay it. We've paid it before when we've been requested to pay. But I just feel like it's very unfair. And the timing of it is very insensitive. With the taxes that have already been raised, city taxes that we've had to pay, I don't see the evidence of where our money is going. Our streets used to be repaired every spring. We used to hate every spring when you see the orange barrels. You don't see that anymore. So I just feel like I don't see where our money is going, and I just object to being charged something else when stuff has already been on the ballots again. I sent a letter in just showing that the history of the income tax increases, and there was supposed to be something else on the primary to increase our taxes, and I just don't see where the money is going, and I'm tired of giving the money when I don't see where it is going.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Before I let the the city respond, the board members ask questions of you or the board. With respect, I think that as a member of the administration, I could speak a little bit for the tax issue. The city does, when we do street improvements, when we fix streets and resurface, the city does pay for a portion of each of those improvements. The idea behind the income tax increase was that by getting more money, we can, and to a lot of your concerns, have the money to do more street projects. I think they were at one point in time, they were shooting for about 4 times the number of projects each year based on the amount of the income tax increase. That increase was to fund the city's portion of the additional streets that we would put in each year. But it did not, is not to pay the assessments that the property owners would be charged for each street. It's still, both parties pay for a portion of every street improvement. It just allowed us to do more streets each year, which I think would to allay a lot of your concerns. I would like maybe if Christine might be the right person, but about the timing of this and how Hawkins was picked, and another thing to say that Teresa had mentioned is that we know everything in the world going on right now. It's not a great time for something, for an extra expense, but fortunately, the timing of this is such that the first payment would not be due until January of 2022. And, hopefully we are on our way or back to normal, in that situation. But I don't know, Christine, could you address about how Hawkins was selected, or maybe Teresa,
Yeah,
whomever would be the right.
Good morning, Ms. Hicks. This is Chris Jonke. It sounds like you're in agreement for the need of the project. I mean, what we are planning here is a lasting improvement. We expect resurfacing to last over 5 years. I know a number of the potholes and the patching out there we throw down as a quick fix until we can come back and address those things properly. We did apply and receive federal funding for this project, so that ties it into when we can spend that money, and that's how the timing came to be. We've been trying to conduct ourselves as business as usual through these times. So again, that leads to the timing. But when we were looking for various projects in the city to go after federal funds, we did try and pick some streets that were in very poor conditions. And Hawkins is one of those. And I agree. I see all those patches out there, and I see the need for good improvements out there. And that's how this project was chosen.
Okay, I guess I now go to the members of the Assessment Equalization Board. If you have any questions for Ms. Hicks or for the city officials based on Ms. Hicks' comments, now would be a great time.
Teresa, what is the cost per foot of this project, and how much would Ms. Hicks be responsible, and how much is the city responsible for?
I can tell you the cost of Ms. Hicks' assessment. She has 55 feet of frontage on Hawkins, and she's being charged $4.50 per linear foot. Her total assessment is $247.50, based on the amount of frontage that she has. As far as the city's portion on this project, that would be a question for Christine to be able to answer probably, as to what our portion of the cost is that we're picking up.
The total project cost for this project is approximately $1.4 million. We did receive some federal funding, and I have it here, so bear with me for just a second. Let's see, we received $700,000 in federal funding. Assessments first. So altogether, the city is responsible for approximately $1 million over what the assessments are, and a good portion of that is being funded through a federal program.
Okay.
I have pulled the legislation on this project, and per the legislation, the estimated total cost of the project is $1.4 million, and the property owners are being assessed for $174,000. So the
Correct.
assessments are a little over 10% of the total cost of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions of the board members?
I have any. No.
Okay, Ms. Hicks, is there anything you would like to add, or any other questions you have at this point?
I'd like to add that my husband has been furloughed and that I am not working this summer. I'm a professor at a college in Cleveland, and I'm not working this summer because, of course, of the virus and the reduction in students and the changes with to the structure of instruction. So I'm not looking forward to trying to pay extra money, especially at this time. Again, my argument is we pay so much in tax, and then to be, to have this added is very frustrating. I agree that there is a need, a desperate need. I witness it every day that I pull out on my street or walk in my neighborhood. So my argument is not that it's not needed. My argument is that we are being assessed again, another payment to fix it, and just the timing of it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Out of
Um,
curiosity, Ms. Hicks, have you been there for a while, and do you recall the last time that this was done and you were assessed?
I don't remember. We've lived here 29 years, a little over 29 years. I'm not sure what year it was assessed. It's happened a couple of times. There was one year I think we had to pay $184. And you always get the option to either pay up front or to have it attached to your mortgage, but who wants to be paying $184 over 30 years? So we elected to pay that at the time. It was very hard on our family. We have 3 kids, and I was not working at the time. So, you may look at the amount of $247.50 and say that's not a lot of money. But at this time it is, and I'm not even looking at the amount. I'm looking at why is it necessary that we have to, again, pay more money for something that the city should take care of. But yes, we've lived here 29 years, and I think prior to the first time that they charged us, there were repairs being made, but we didn't receive letters saying that the repairs were going to be added to our cost, we would have to pay for that. So repairs were being made regularly, but we were not assessed that cost.
Yeah, I think generally when patch-up repairs and those sorts of things that they do to fill potholes, those are not, charged to the property owners, I don't believe. Okay, I am going to, I guess, double check that there's no one in the waiting room for this hearing. Okay, I am still going to call the names of the other objectors for the record and see if the board has any particular questions regarding the objections that, even though they're not here, you received, their objections to go over if you have any questions on those. But first, if you let me the chance to call the different names. Yvette Kite, Latricia Sullivan, Joyce Anderson, David Donges. Okay, board members, do you have any questions about the other objections or any other questions in general about the project?
No, sir.
I do have one question about David Donges that maybe Teresa can answer. He is, I believe, I think he believes he's being assessed for a corner lot. And when I got on Google Maps and looked at his lot, he has some frontage on Morse Avenue, but the frontage on Hawkins looks like it's not actual frontage. There's a strip of property or land between his property and Hawkins. So could you explain to me exactly how he's being assessed and maybe address that concern that he does not truly have a corner lot?
Mr. Purge, I will let her address how he's being assessed. I did look at that question about the space from his property line to where the actual street starts, and it is a giant right of way that includes the street. I believe under the law that it is a property that counts as bounding and abutting the improvement because it's not like that the city has a separate parcel that is ownership that something could get built on or something along those lines as part of the right of way. That does, however, go I think to your duties as a board of since legally it's been determined to bound and abut the improvement. Is this a unique situation where the benefit might not be the same as if he were flush up, against the street itself? Is it, mostly the same benefit, so I think that is a good question on your part. As far as the corner lot question or how they're being assessed, I guess I'll give that to Teresa.
Actually, Teresa, before you jump in here, I'd like to comment on that particular location. I had our surveyor do a little bit of research to see what David was speaking about there. And it looks like back in 1966, we purchased a strip of land that would have been a corner lot, and it has since then been absorbed into our right-of-way. So I understand why the objector made that comment.
Yeah, so basically, that side of Hawkins is the longest side of the property. So he is receiving a break on the assessment for that side. His assessment, page. He's got a lot of frontage on that side of the street. He has 524.5 feet of frontage. Anything over 200 feet, for the first 200 feet, they're assessed at 25%, and then 100% over 200 feet. So he's actually being assessed for 424 feet of frontage for Hawkins, but he is getting a break for that. But it's just a lot of frontage. His total assessment is actually, I'm sorry, he's only being assessed for 374.5 feet of frontage. His rate is 875 per linear feet because that particular section of Hawkins is unimproved, and that is the unimproved rate. His total assessment is 3,276.88. Based on the frontage and the rate per foot for unimproved.
In that strip between his actual lot that he owns and the strip that's attached to Hawkins, how wide is that strip?
If you're talking about the lot that no longer exists, I believe it was approximately 30 feet.
I think that's what he said in
So
his.
that's a lot that no longer exists. I mean, I think this guy's got kind of a unique situation in my mind. If he has 30 feet of land between his property and Hawkins, and that land was a lot that is no longer a lot, then I think maybe he should only be assessed on his frontage on Morse Avenue. I mean, that's just something I'm considering. I don't know how the other members feel. So,
Well, I just think it's unfortunate that he's not here to plead his case. But you know, it does seem a little strange. Does he care for this property? Like to include it as like he does take care of it, or
it doesn't. I don't know. On Google Maps, it doesn't appear that way. It looks like it's kind of a no man's land in a way.
so the city must take care of mowing and so forth, or whatever.
Well, looking at the overhead view, it looks like, at least at this point in 2017, it's a lot of treed property. I mean, it doesn't look like it's mowable land for the most part.
Would it?
And again, I will say, from the legal standpoint, I think that, he bounds and abuts the right of way, which includes the street. But again, as I think Mr. Purge said, this board's determination is, the actual benefit, if we've properly apportioned the benefit to this property, and if for some reason that this board feels that, only benefited a certain percentage of what if he was right there on the street would be. Again, that is within your domain and your discretion.
I mean, I'm just thinking if that lot was a lot and then it was not a lot, he went from having no frontage on Hawkins to having considerable frontage due to a reclassification of that property from a lot to.
I think what Christine said though is that property sold that land so it would have been fully abutting on Hawkins, and then part of that land was then sold to this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Christine, but I thought that's what you had said.
Yeah, that's correct. It was part of a very, strange situation. It looked like, but for sure that this current property we're talking about is 100% butting on the Hawkins right-of-way. Yes, it is a wide right-of-way, but we've got plenty of corridors similar to this in the city. And I don't know if this would mean anything or not, but it's my understanding, even if we wanted to make a lot here. It would not be a legal lot because it's so skinny.
Not buildable for sure.
Yeah.
So the city acquired this property from Mr. Donges, the current owner?
No, I don't recall the owner, but whoever did own the lot before did not own the Dongus property.
Oh, okay.
They own something across the street.
So it had been a separate parcel when the city
Correct.
acquired it? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It sounds like the lot did not have frontage on Hawkins originally. And then due to the acquisition of that property, it became frontage on Hawkins, which strikes me as a bit unusual. I'd like to help the guy out a little bit on that one.
Well, let's, when we get to the deliberations, you guys can discuss. Did you have any other questions on this one or any of the other?
No.
Okay,
No,
and I'm gonna close the public portion of this. If you want to individually discuss the ones that we've had in front of us today or any of the other ones, you can. Again, you can make the motions any number of ways that you prefer.
Well, gentlemen, what do you think about the Donges property?
I think we need to do some kind of percentage of reduction for that. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's kind of confusing, ain't it?
Yeah.
It is.
I sound like you end up with something that end up with some property and that he'll really have no use for.
I had to
That's
ask my neighbor at the end of the street because he's got he's on my street, but he's on the corner, and then next to him is an empty
Yeah.
pie-shaped lot that the city owns,
Right.
not buildable, and he takes care of it, mows it and all that kind of stuff. But I just wondered when they repaved and we got repaved, if he had to pay for that too. I'm, just out of curiosity. But it's not his property, but he's kindly mowing it. And I think now with the new rules that are in place, he may end up being able to claim it, buy it, whatever. But, I'd just be curious about that because it strikes me as being bizarre, but I have no idea where we would start as far as a reduction in his assessment. But
I think what we would have to do would be arbitrary to a point, I'm sure.
Right.
Is there any kind of way they can send that back and reevaluate it, relook at it?
We
Yeah.
can, yes, if the board made a decision and part of that decision was asking us to take another look at it,
Yes.
we could, but then that decision would be out of the board's hands
Oh.
at that point in time.
Okay. All right. Well, James, what's your thoughts?
I don't know. I just think it's almost like the person had a lot that was not bordering or had frontage on Hawkins. Something outside his control happened and reclassified that so he has frontage on Hawkins, but has no real benefit to him. He's got
Right.
a wooded, what was a buildable lot, which is no longer a buildable lot. So due to circumstances outside of his control, he is now classified as having frontage on Hawkins that he did not attempt to acquire, did not want, did not choose. but has that. So his tax liability went from frontage on Morse Road only to a large frontage on Hawkins.
Well, it seems like that. Yeah, it seems like that wooded lot has become bizarrely part of the street.
Yes.
Which doesn't
Well,
make sense.
I mean, I would like to just charge him for the frontage on Morse Road. Because I don't really think that property, although you can say technically legally has frontage, but in another way, he doesn't.
Is Morse being assessed at all?
No.
Okay,
No.
so that, no.
Oh, this is Hawkins only?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to propose that we do a 50% reduction. That
I would go along with that.
Jimmy, what do you think?
yes, I would say, I would go along with it.
Okay, then I'm hearing, I think, a motion for a 50% reduction for Mr. Dongis's property.
Yes,
Right,
sir.
right.
Is
Yes.
everyone in favor of that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and then if you could address the rest of the objections.
Although I think the objector had some very good points, and I certainly understand and
Yeah.
concur on a lot of her concerns. I don't see anything that would warrant any unusual situation that would warrant a reduction in her assessment.
I agree.
I agree. I just hope in 2022, things will turn around and she'll be able to pay again.
I would hope so.
Yeah, that's all I can say.
And then is the same, would you, the other objections as well?
Yes.
I would decline the other
Okay.
objection.
Decline.
Yes.
So then a motion to, other than Donjis, to decline the other objections?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Teresa,
Yes.
can you email me what the reduction is so I can prepare that report properly?
Yep.
Gentlemen, if
I
you
will get
remember,
that
I
over to
sent,
you.
yeah, gentlemen, if you remember, I sent 2 possible reports for each project.
Mhm.
I will, for 4th Street, what I'll need you to do is, approve the one that had no reductions. I will prepare and circulate this morning, once we're done with the final thing, a report that shows this property with a reduction. And then, whatever happens in the next hearing as well.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
thank you all. And we've got about 10 minutes, I think, till the 10:45.
All righty.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.